Well, it would seem to me that all people of all faiths benefit from a belief in that which is greater than them as an individual.
Dave has had a coloured history. I think we can describe it as that, can't we? And we're going to hear about that and the transformation that happened in his life. We're going to hear his story a little bit later. But before that, I'm going to ask Emma, Will and Dan to join us here on the centre stage. Now, Emma, Will and Dan here are relatively new to faith. We'll start with Emma. Emma, you can tell us, can't you, how you weren't really interested in faith, but your husband was.
Yeah, that's right. I met my husband, and it's only when I became pregnant that he started to float the idea of going to church. So I said, yeah, fine, let's go ahead, because faith had been kept out of my life. It was something never mentioned, apart from going to school at Christmases and Easter time. So I was really intrigued by it, and I found it quite emotional. And as we grew our family, we moved to Bristol, it was something that we started to do on a regular basis.
Was it something which really mattered to you at that point in time?
No, not at all. I was becoming a mum for the first time. It was probably way down my list of to-do things, to be fair, bringing a little child into the world.
And actually, when you hear people talk about the reasons they don't go to church, a lot of them say, well, I've got many more things on my things-to-do list on a Sunday. But what changed for you?
We started going to St Michael's Church in Stoke Gifford. We basically got involved with the church, and we really liked everything that they did there, especially for young families.
And when was it that you realised that faith mattered to you, that God mattered to you?
I took part in the Alpha course that St Michael's run, and I got to ask all the questions that I had going through my head about Jesus and about faith. Over the course of the 8 weeks that Alpha ran, a lot happened and a lot changed in me, which I liked, and I wanted to embrace Jesus in my life.
Let's bring Will in at this point. Hello, Will. Hey, they're standing there beside me. Now, for you, you sort of found faith by accident, didn't you? Tell me what happened.
Yeah, it was last November at a friend's birthday party. I got talking to a small group of Christians there, and what they were saying sort of interested me.
Now, would you normally have thought of that as something that you'd have a good time doing at a party?
Not at all. Obviously at parties you want to sort of eat, drink, dance, have fun, and it's sort of further from what I would want to do normally.
So what then led you to deciding that you wanted to find out more?
What they were saying was quite interesting, and it sort of really sort of hit a chord with how I was feeling. Because for about 3 years previously, there was sort of an emptiness building inside of me, and sort of how I best describe it is almost like a black hole opening.
But did you know what needed to be used to fill that?
No, not at all. It wasn't until this time, and it's actually the day after I went to a prayer service at the UE, and I actually got prayed for there. There was it was just like a strange experience. There's only 3 of us in the room, but we all felt something happened then.
Did it feel at all awkward?
Absolutely. First of all, it felt really, really strange. It was very uncomfortable. But at that point, I was just willing just to at least sort of explore the possibility and just see what would happen, really.
We'll come back to you in a moment, but we better say hi to Dan. Evening, Dan. Thank you very much for joining us on the stage this evening. Now, for you, you were looking for something, weren't you? You wanted to find a faith, but you weren't sure which faith. You were open to everything.
I guess I was brought up in a kind of churchy background. When I went away to university, I was still sort of sitting on the fence, and I guess at that point I thought I should either throw myself into it fully or throw myself out of it. And it was at that point when I went to St Mike's and realised that I needed to immerse myself in it fully, and the Alpha course really helped to kind of get rid of some of the baggage that I was brought up with.
Now, when you talk about the baggage you've been brought up with, was it an image of the church that was hard to shrug off?
Yeah, I think, my parents brought me up very well, loving Christian family, but obviously everything, anywhere you come from, it all comes with kind of added extras to it. And it really helped me realise that actually it's just about my relationship with Jesus, that was really what counted.
When I was expelled, football violence was a bit of a way of life.
Did you go specifically to games to start a fight?
Yes. I got arrested in quite a few different countries around the world.
You were in a great deal of turmoil, but it was a girl that changed things.
Yeah, it was a girl involved, as we said. It was a girl that worked at this homeless place, and she was a Christian, and I took a little bit of shine to her. So before I got thrown out, I said, "Oh, do you fancy going for a beer sometime?" And she kind of said, "Not really, I'm a Christian." I said, "Well, that's all right. So am I." She said, "Maybe you are." No, I am. Born in England, you're Church of England, aren't you? She said, "Not really, no." And I said, "Well, anyway, do you fancy going for a beer?" She said, "Well, okay, I'll go for a drink with you if you come to church with me."
And what did you think to that?
Well, I thought we can't go on longer than half an hour, so yeah, I'll go.
It kind of depends on who's doing the sermon.
Absolutely.
So what happened in church?
It kind of whipped me out, but this time I found I was in the middle of like a row and I couldn't get out, and I just thought, what am I going to do here? So I thought, what I'll do is I'll pretend that I'm praying and I'll kind of leave me alone. So I didn't know what to do, so I put my hands together and sat like that, and I was welling up and I was thinking, oh my days, they better stay away from me. Anyway, two of these shiny people came up and said, "Can we pray for you so you can do whatever you want, mate?" He said, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, nothing you've got." And he said, "Well, why are you so upset?" I was thinking, do I knock him out now or wait? And he kind of said, "I didn't hear it, girls. I didn't hear anyone anywhere." Anyway, so what happened, they prayed, they kind of said, and I said, "All right." And they said, "Well, what is it you want?" And it kind of hit me that I wanted all of this kind of anger and hate and pain that I had in me to go. And the guy said, "You know, just all you've got to do is call on the name of Jesus and it will change." And I thought he was trying to take the mickey out of me a little bit. And these kind of little imaginary crosshairs came up, and I was going to break his nose, I was going to headbutt him. That's what was going through my head, just headbutt him. And I didn't, he just said pray. So I looked me in the eyes and I thought, he actually believes this. And so I said, "Well, what have I got to do?" He said, "Just talk to Jesus." So I did. And from that second on, I knew there was God. I knew without a shadow of a doubt. And kind of things kind of changed massively.
So much so that you now guide others in faith, don't you?
I'll do my best. Yeah.
As chaplain.
Yeah, I'm chaplain to Bristol Rovers, which is a massive thing for me.
A dream job.
Oh, having a big band. Yeah. So I get to go training, hang around with players. And
We've got time for one more question for you, and I would like to really ask you, what would you say to the man that you used to be?
Well, I suppose I always thought that Christianity was there to kind of stop you doing things and to kind of bind you up. You can't do this, you mustn't do that. But for me, I found such freedom in putting off the things that not only I did to people, but people did to me, and the things that I kind of did to myself. You know, all of those things I can put them down. I don't have to carry them around anymore. And I think anyone here who's kind of got baggage, because we all have, because we are people, and we do people things. It's about getting rid of all that baggage and being the person that God created you to be. And I just say that if anyone wants to talk about faith or anything else, I'm going to hang around here, and there'll be loads of other people who want to hang around here and talk to and pray with you. If not, do an altar course, get free food. It's not worth it.
It's all about food. It's all about food.
Food and drink was a good thing.
He's surprisingly approachable. And thank you very much. Please show your appreciation. Thank you. You could simply ask why. Why? Instead of asking and trusting.
It's not a case of asking and trusting, it's a case of finding you're picked up and carried. When our kids were small and they fell over, You didn't sit down and explain to them as they lay on the ground with a cut knee, which for a small child is one of the big disasters in life. You didn't explain, or fell off the bike or whatever it happened to be. You didn't say, well, now you need to realise, I'm now going to explain to you the theory of gravity. You pick them up and you hug them. And it's not as simple as that as a Christian. It's not that, it's all huggy and lovey and all that the whole time Jesus picks you up. But he's always there with you. He's always there alongside you. And the moment you turn to him, you may be going through a really rough time. You may go on going through a really rough time. But you go through it with him alongside you. And then you can stand. The other day I was praying over something as I was running. I ended up saying to God, look, this is all very well, but isn't it about time you did something if you're there? Which is probably not what the Archbishop of Canterbury should say.
But it's quite reassuring to people who think to themselves, I don't feel a presence, or I certainly don't feel a presence all the time.
And it's not about feelings, it's about the fact that God is faithful. And the extraordinary thing about being a Christian is that God's faithful even when we're not. He loves us. When we get into exactly the wrong place, he doesn't say, okay, sort yourself out and I'll find you. He comes alongside us and says, right, let's go from here. So there may be people here whose life is a complete havoc, and they know they've really messed up. And God doesn't say, okay, once you're out of the mess, we'll move on together. He says, I'm right here, let's start dealing with this together. I've really, really messed up as a Christian numerous times. And God never changes. Whatever I do, God never changes. This is the ultimate reality. There is no greater reality than to know and follow Jesus Christ. It takes you through everything in life. Terrifying things, stressful things, wonderful things, joyful things. But he never changes, and he's always there. Often, Jesus meets us through life we get from other Christians. Where do I stand when things get difficult? I reach out for help, because I'm usually back on my place.
Archbishop Justin Welby, thank you so much.